All right. I know the delay has been a little bit later than expected, but I have been pretty busy. But very, very, very tired as well. Um, but I'm going to give it to you straight. Okay. Now, last year, everybody likes to tune into, what does the commish think about favorite teams, least favorite teams. By the way, as you are listening to this, I am recording this on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 8:05 p.m. So if shit happens after that, I have no control over that. Just letting you guys know. I am going to be very unfiltered. I know Harsh gave a very good in-depth analysis paragraph for each team. Thank you, Harsh, for your support. We do appreciate all that you also do for this league. Now, gentlemen, just some quick thoughts. It is in fact a fact that we play in a running back premium league. I was unaware of this. Actually, no, I was aware of this, but man, the running backs thin the f out. They thin out so bad that literally there are 32 NFL teams. Let this sink in for a second. There are 32 NFL teams. Literally, literally 31 of those teams have a handcuff drafted in our draft. The only team that does not is the Indianapolis Colts. This is fact, not fiction. So I just figured I would throw that out there. Um, One thing that I noticed in the draft and how this is going to pan out, I'm just going to give a quick segment. Usually I do like an hour of this on my thoughts, but I'm just going to go very, very quick, rapid fire. Um, we had a lot of zero RB/hero RB teams. I think, based on what I can remember, David Sutton, Patrick Leo, and myself, I think, fit in that category. We're thin at running back, but stacked at receiver. There are a lot of hero wide receiver or robust RB teams, aka the Cousins. And Harsh, you fit in my tier as well. I forgot you. And then I think everything else kind of fell into value based drafting, where what I mean by that is that there's no set strategy, but it's very top heavy, and then the flexes are more at value, or they're going to have to mix and match and see what they can do from there, right? That's kind of what I saw out of this draft. And before now, a lot of you probably don't even care about what I have to say. You just like it for the entertainment purposes, which is all fine. I will let you know that I am very biased off of teams that have weak receivers. Okay. Um, I can't set that aside. So I'm just gonna go in and tell you how I see it. Um, Last year, the team that I said was the worst draft came out of nowhere and became the runner-up, meaning that they finished in second. Well, because of that, here's how the draft is going to go. Because I think that a lot of teams had similar strategies, that kind of gives them, I think, between Sutton, Patrick, myself, and Harsh, I do think that two of those four teams could probably be really good. The issue, though, is if your team is similarly constructed, there is always going to be a team that's a little bit better than yours the way that they were constructed. Um, and that was pretty evident. Actually, very, very evident. Not pretty, very evident. Um, and then the robust/hero RB teams, there's going to be one that I like a lot better than the other one. But because of these teams that, when mathematically they're all not going to hit, like last year, shocker, zero of the zero RB teams made it. The highest place finish was seventh. That was myself. And that was because the running back position got hurt. Um, so those strategies could either go to the moon or they could bust right in your face, flat out. So I do think that the people that went value-based drafting might have an advantage if they have the depth at running back. So I do factor that into my rankings as well. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Now, you don't need the Yahoo report card to tell you You did. Let's get with it. People are waiting. Who is the last place team that I think had, I don't want to say the worst draft per se, but is probably projected not to go very far. And again, gentlemen, somebody has to have this stamp of approval or disapproval, if you will. And it's not necessarily that I think that this team is bad. I think somebody had said it after the draft that a lot of teams, it was hard to pinpoint one really, really bad team. Now, I don't know that. So here's what I think. Either you honestly truly believe that, or there's somebody in the room that you know for a fact is still there that you don't want to talk shit about. Well, listen, I have a job to do. As your commissioner, I want to give my honest take. And in my opinion, the 12th best team. Welcome back to the big leagues, kid. Rob Messier, you're number 12. Now, Mesh, there are a lot of picks that I like. And there are some that I think it's up for you to kind of manage your way out of here. For your first time back in the big leagues, kid, I think you did a really good job. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is one of the safest picks that you can make. There's nothing wrong with that. Brandon Ayuk, if this man gets on a football field, Mr. Mesh, I think he's a good receiver as well. I think he pairs up very well with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you get an established floor. My favorite pick by you that a lot of people in the industry hate, and I don't care what anybody says, Josh Jacobs was my favorite pick that you made. Josh Jacobs should be going in the second round, but for whatever reason, people are listening to the Matt LaFleur bullshit. Excuse me. Last time that I checked, A.J. Dillon sucks and Marshawn Lloyd is hurt, and Josh Jacobs is a very, very good NFL caliber running back. Give me Josh Jacobs all day. In fact, you're probably going to get a lot of offers for Josh Jacobs from me. Where I think you lost me a little bit. In our league, it's with quarterbacks, and they go super freaking early. But you also reached on your boy Christian Kirk. Now, it's funny because I remember watching a Jaguars playoff game with you. You hated Kirk because you said he dropped too many passes. But you went with him. Now, with that being said, I don't think he's a bad pick, but I don't know if he has that built-in upside that you're going to get. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback, but waiting on quarterback, I think, is the way to go in this league. Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard is an interesting one. You went with the Titan. A lot of people are out on Tony Pollard. I don't think he's a bad running back. My only concern, though, is I don't know how good the Titans are going to be this year, and I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to score. Dallas Goedert should be good, but like in theory, he's kind of mid. My second favorite pick you made, though, was Brian Thomas Jr. And because of that, I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. I think that this guy can have a breakout season, and there are some people that truly believe that he could be the best Jaguars receiver this year. Now, your bench, Deontay Johnson, in theory, should be very good, but he's playing on a really bad team with a quarterback who's very unproven. The one thing that's good about Deontay Johnson, though, is when he is healthy, he gets wide open. Then you have Brandon Cooks, Kendrick Miller. Marvin Mims Jr. is going to be somebody that a lot of people in this league like a lot. So I think that was a good pick as well. Dylan sucks. Isaiah Likely. If Andrews goes down again, congratulations on a great, let me emphasize that, a great tight end. And then Kenny Gainwell and Jared Goff. I think you got a thing for Goff. I don't know. And then the Ravens D. Mesh, when it comes down to it, Lamar Jackson, St. Brown, Ayuk, and Jacobs, I think, are proven picks. The only way I think that these guys don't hit, like they would have to fall off a cliff. That's not happening with St. Brown. That's not happening with Ayuk. There are a lot of people that are preying on Josh Jacobs' downfall. I don't think that's going to happen. Where things get a little tricky is after that. Tony Pollard is a big coin flip. Dallas Goedert, it's a tight end. I'm not going to hate on it at all. If you ask anybody in this league, I don't care about tight ends. And I know it sounds very hypocritical because I went Trey McBride in the 5th round. Kirk, I think, is good. But like having both Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. in the starting lineup, if you believe that both of them are going to be starting for your team, Mesh, then that means that you're a believer in, obviously you're a Jaguars fan. Oh man, I got something on my shirt. Sorry about that. But at the same token too, you are a Jaguars fan for one, but that also means that you believe that Trevor Lawrence is taking the next step and he's going to throw a crap ton in Peterson's offense. And that would also make it mean that you don't like Evan Ingram that much this year and you're out on Gabe Davis, or maybe you just like having Jaguars. Brian Thomas, though, I think is the X factor of this team. If this guy does break out into the first round talent that he can be, I honestly think that this team is not in as bad of a shape as people like myself believe. So I don't want to say, listen, the season haven't even started yet. I have to give my opinion. That is my opinion. Big Mesh, best of luck of the way. We're glad to have you back, baby. All right. My personal opinion, the team that I think had the 11th best draft in the league, it's going to be a shocker because this man has landed on my favorite team list for the last. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that because 2 years ago I hated his draft. He proved me wrong. Last year I loved his draft and I was right. This year I hate his draft. Maybe he can prove me wrong yet again. Ladies, gentlemen, I'm going to talk my smack. If you call it smack, but I'm just going to call it like I see it. And in my personal opinion, the champ, you're at number 11, Mr. Allen Williams. I'm going to explain why I am not big on this team. Allen, one thing I will say about you as a friend that you are loyal, and you are a loyal friend, and you are a good human being, my friend. But you are also very loyal to the players that got you there last year. You went back with Kenneth Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Travis Etienne. In my personal opinion, I think Etienne, if he's going to get it done, it's going to be through the receiving game because he's really freaking bad as a running back. Jahmyr Gibbs, I see a lot of what happened last year, Mr. Allen. Allen, I think that he's going to have to get eased in. Kenneth Walker, I love. I think out of all the running backs, he's my favorite that you got. Send me an offer. Rachaad White. Yeah, God. All right. I think the guy got away with murder. He's, again, it's funny because you have expensive Rachaad White and Travis Etienne, and you have the actual version of Rachaad White as well on the same team. My issue is if these guys do not score a touchdown for you on a week basis, their floor might be 8 to 10 points. Now, if you do the math, let's say 10 times 4 is 40. Okay. Where are you getting the rest of your points from? Anthony Richardson. Okay. This man has the potential to get you 30, so then you're at 70. And that's best case scenario. Dalton Kincaid. By default, he probably is the best receiver on the Buffalo Bills. So let's just say he gives you 15 points. Now, if I do that math, you're at 85. Okay. Now it comes to the coin flip at receiver. Dotson and Addison. So the way that you're playing this game, Mr. Allen Williams, is that Dotson and Addison are boomer bust plays, right? I don't see any way how they're not. So if you're going to play that game, Mr. Williams, let's say that one of them hits. Let's say 16, right? Okay. So if I did that correct, I think I fucked up math already. 85, 15. So you're at 100. And then let's say the other one gets you like 7. So it's 107. And then it's up for the defense to say, all right, we'll give you 10, right? This is 117 points. That's with me factoring in the floor and Richardson going off and one of your receivers hitting and Kincaid. So with all that math that I just did, now obviously, what I'm telling you right now, you're probably jumping out of your seat and telling you, but that's the floor of my strategy. All right, let's pause for a second. Let's go to the bench. Jalen McMillan. Good late round flyer, but I don't know how confident you would be starting him every week. Hollywood Brown. He is obviously hurt right now. Best case scenario, he goes back to what he was with Lamar Jackson, comes back in the Chiefs offense, and Andy Reid makes him a steal of the draft. Jalen Wright has a lot of upside, but I do think obviously he's only going to be valuable if either Mostert or Devon Achane gets hurt. Tyrone Tracy, he's already hurt. Jaden Daniels, great pick, but he's not even your starting quarterback, so he's probably going to sit on your bench. Jordan Whittington, a very, very intriguing pick. You didn't even pick him. Sayon Vaki, too. Are you watching the same shit that I'm watching? Yeah, I don't know how you knew about both of these guys. Jonathan Brooks. Your running backs, I'll give you an A+ for depth and the talent that they have. The receivers make me nervous. So, Alan, I know you're a stubborn manager that does not like to trade. And I do think that you have a lot of faith in Addison and Dotson carrying the load, and you're hoping that honestly, I think your X factor is Hollywood Brown becoming a receiver too. If that does happen, I think that there's some hope for this team. But me, I am very, very biased to teams that don't have receivers. The good news though is that you have a tight end, and it's literally up for you to figure out receiver the rest of the way. I wish you the best of luck in doing that, champ. You have proven me wrong before, and if I am correct, you like it when I am against your team, not with it. So in that case, you probably love what I'm saying to you because I gave you the number 2 draft last year, I think. So, champ. The X factor, I think, is Hollywood Brown. Um, you are okay. So let's say one of the backs, worst case scenario, goes down, then you're kind of tinkering. You also you hit okay. I think somebody said it best. You're trying to the saying goes, a lightning in a bottle twice. Lightning doesn't strike twice, whatever. I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought. But the bottom line, what I'm trying to tell you is you got lucky with Puka Nakua and Jaden Reed turned out to be a beast as late round picks. I am looking at this roster and I don't see it. Whittington would be probably the best case scenario if one of the Rams guys goes down. Just my thoughts, Mr. Allen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here. This is the number 10 team. I think we're going to keep the same energy. Because if I was on this kid's team, he probably would not be very, very happy with me. He proved me very wrong last year. David Cryer at number 10. It was a close one between you and somebody else, but I do think that somebody else has a better running back / tight end combo than you do. That's what kind of made the de facto. David, I like Patrick Mahomes a lot. He's probably going to be quarterback 1 this year. Devontae Adams makes me a little bit nervous. As good as he's been and as consistently as he is, there's the range of outcomes for him is that either he falls off a cliff or if the Raiders do well and he does well, I think there's like a 20% chance of that happening. Like both need to coincide because if the Raiders do wind up sucking, he's gonna like throw a fit and he's gonna want to get traded, and who knows where he's gonna wind up. Devonta Smith was incredible value. I think that's probably my favorite pick that you made. So if Adams is Adams and you have that paired with Smith, it's a great combination. I have no issue with Jonathan Taylor. My issue with him, though, is with Anthony Richardson. I was out on Jonathan Taylor last year because Anthony Richardson is probably going to run it in the goal line. Taylor should have a lot of running lanes. There's a lot of people that believe that he is going to be back to his MVP form like he had that one year. I think Paul had him. Yeah, I think Paul had him that year. So if Jonathan Taylor does find his groove and gets back into the swing of things, he could honestly be a very good pick. Regardless, he is, how do I say, a floor pick. James Cook. This is another guy that is polarizing. You're either in on him or you're out on him. I'm out on him. I think that I don't think he's that good. I think he falls into like that Rashad White tier of guys that just get volume. But I get it and I hear it all the time. Volume is king, volume is king, volume is king. I don't know how good he's going to be at the goal line. So your guys, I think, have a good floor in Taylor and Cook. My touchdown concerns is what I have. George Kittle, great value every year, and especially with Ayuk being a little bitch, he might be a good pick. So right off the bat, the question marks that I had, the biggest question mark is Adams. I think Smith is fine, Mahomes is fine, Taylor's a good floor, and James Cook is another question mark. This is where you lose me a bit. Now, I had Keenan Allen last year, and I had a career year out of him. How does that translate to him being in Chicago is the biggest thing. Now, I am not hating on him because of the 230 pounds overweight or whatever report that people are laughing at him. That's not why. Keenan Allen, I think, had a great year because nobody else could step up on the Chargers last year. Now he is going to an offense where you have an established number 1 and probably a guy who might be a top 5 receiver once his career gets on the ground running, and that's Roman Dunze. So if that is the case and those guys step up, like Keenan Allen, I think goes back to being a low-end floor play. There's probably going to be games where he's going to have to be relied on, and you can buy into the fact that a rookie quarterback does need a security blanket, and that could be Keenan Allen. Ezekiel Elliott in your starting flex makes me very nervous. When it came down to it, so spoiler alert, if he's listening, he's going to know this. I didn't know which team I liked better between you and Paul. I put Paul over you strictly because I think Paul has the better tight end and the better flex option because I am not a buyer in Zeke Elliott. But then let's check the bench. So Crier, where I do think you might be better than a lot of teams, is actually your bench is very intriguing. It's just there's some starting pieces here that make me nervous. Okay. So funny thing is Austin Eckler, if he is on kick return duties, Crier, I'm going to tell you this right now, you should just get rid of James Cook and put in Austin Eckler at the RB2. He might be a cheat code, but that's only if he's on kick return duties. Khalil Shakir, I got news for you. This is probably the best Bills receiver that they have. I'm not big on Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel as much as I do like him. I think he's a slot only player. Jerry Jeudy, there's a lot of people buying into the bounce back. I can see it. Braylon Allen's a good lottery ticket if anything happens to Breece Hall. Damian Pierce, you're going to cut by the time this is done recording. Adam Thielen, look, I hate old guys. What can I say? Deontay Foreman, with Nick Chubb being so uncertain, he might be the goal line black back in Cleveland. So that could be another guy. And Justice Hill, by default, they have nobody there. And you got your Niners D against the Jets. So Crier, the funny thing is I like your bench a lot more than some of your starters. Like Zeke just did not make me feel comfortable at all. If he goes back to what he was in as the Patriots starter, you might be okay. But after watching him, I can't get excited about this guy. But if Shakir steps up, Eckler becomes a cheat code, and Braylon Allen as a lottery ticket, there's still hope, some hope. But there are other teams that I do like a little bit more than this one. Do I think it's the worst team? No. The X factor is, does Davante Adams go back to being Davante Adams? That's number one. Is James Cook for real? And those those old 30-year-old vets that you got in Keenan Allen and Ezekiel Elliott, can they actually turn back the clock? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. That's how I see it. Moving right along, we have team number 9, and I think the best way to put this is this man just took every discount that was available, and that was Paul per call, and I think the discounts worked out pretty well. I don't think this is a terrible team. It is very hard for me to pinpoint what teams I like and which ones I do not like. Paul, let's get into it. Paul, if you heard me in the beginning of this podcast, I had stated that I am very biased against teams that don't have really good receivers. That's not your case. I actually think your starting lineup is good. Joe Burrow, fine. Justin Jefferson, fine. DJ Moore, fine. Barkley, fine. James Conner, fine. Travis Kelce, fine. Zay Flowers could take the next step. So then you're asking yourself, where's the issue? In my opinion, if I go down your draft, Paul, Adonai Mitchell I like a lot. People call him Adonai. I always thought it was Adonai out of Texas, but AD Mitchell, whatever the hell you want to call him. Njoku as a bench guy is going to be okay. Madison I hate. Ricky Pearsall, I think whatever with him. Malachi Curley is interesting because he might be on return yards, bitch. Jalen Warren, love him, but he's hurt. We'll see how long that's going to take. Zach Moss, Paul, I actually like your bench a lot. You know what? Paul, I just realized something. You are not my number 9 team. Shocker special here, because I actually did like this team, but my number 9 favorite team, and this has nothing to do with it being bad. There's just a lot of really, really well-constructed teams. Patrick, it starts with this. You have a lot of Jets on your team, and as a Jets fan, that can only mean one thing. Everything is going downhill. Yikes. I actually don't think that, but I think what happened in the draft between you and David Sutton where you were picking is the running backs did not come to you, and you guys are very, very thin at running back. And I think that's why I'm not so big on this team. Aaron Rodgers, look, as much as I love the man and I hope he leads us to the promised land, there's a lot you got to rely on. Debo, I think, is better if Ayuk's not there. Get Garrett Wilson to the moon, baby. I like him a lot. Puka Nacua, I love. Michael Pittman Jr. could be boom or bust. But then you have Najee Harris, David Montgomery. Brock Bowers is intriguing. I don't know how well he's going to do his rookie year with Gardner Minshew. And I think the bench, Estime is a lottery ticket. Lloyd's a lottery ticket. Rico Dowdle and Curtis Samuel I do like on your bench. Patrick, this is not a bad team, buddy. It's really, really not. It's just that there are so many other things that I like from other people. Um, yeah. So with that being said, Mr. Patrick Starr, this is not a bad team, my friend. It's really, really not a bad team. Uh, there's just other teams that I like a lot more than that. I think Garrett Wilson will have a breakout year. Debo is boomer bust. Puka, there's a lot of people who think he's gonna fall off. He will not. And Pittman is boomer bust. Where I think your team actually looks good, because I just told you Debo and Pittman could either get you 7 points or they can get you like 30 any given week. And I actually think that Najee Harris and David Montgomery have like low end floors, but I think worst case scenario for those guys is 8. So if these guys hit on the same week, you're probably not losing that week. I just don't know how consistent they're going to be. So Patrick, I actually don't think this is a bad team. There's just a lot of other teams that I like, and that's what it comes down to. We are officially at team 8 right here. We are officially at team number 8. And the more and more that I thought about this team has a lot of upside, but there's a lot of unproven floor. But I love a lot of picks from this team. I have nothing negative to say about it because I actually do think it's deep. But it's just a matter of, will these receivers hit? That is the biggest thing that I struggle with. And I don't know if I'm quite there yet. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the vintage one. Arsh, this is what it comes down to. When I look at your roster, it is clearly a 0 RB team with literally low end 2 running backs to start. The thing, though, that is good, though, is that you also, not only did you go Zamir White, Javonte Williams, Chuba Hubbard is worst case scenario if one of them busts. And I do think that Chuba will carry the rock most of the season. Where I struggle with this is because I know what my team was constructed of like last year. I had, and this is harsh. This is not a bad team. This is just very, very hard for me to pinpoint what team I like, what ones I hate, because I think it's a matter of there are a lot of better teams than it's yours actually sucking. Because if this team hits, you can guarantee that it's going to go at least in the semifinals. Uh, Drake London is the only guy who makes me nervous, but Jamar Chase, certified alpha, and he might be the number 1 pick next year if they utilize him correctly. Malik Neighbors, I think worst case scenario is Jalen Waddle with rookie year, and Tank Dell is a touchdown machine. And according to CJ Stroud, he might be his favorite target. So it's up for your running backs to carry you, and this is why. If my starting receivers last year were Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, all 3 of those guys for the first half of the season were solidified wide receiver ones. They were always ranked in the top 10, and then Diggs fell off. Keenan Allen was my best receiver until he got hurt. And then I had to fluctuate between George Pickens and Drake London. No, George Pickens and Jahan Dotson, who sucked. So it was always George Pickens, who was a boomer bust guy, as you know. But then when I look at you, you also have Roma Dunze on the bench. Obviously, he's in your roster right now. So I think that your guys are better off for worst case scenario, but I don't know if their range of outcomes is as better as mine because my guys were top 5, and I did that without any running backs because Aaron Jones was gone. And I was starting Jalen Warren. So me, I said like I like teams with a lot of receivers and I like yours. It's just a matter of, are these guys going to hit? It's 50-50. Javonte Williams, I don't think will be an RB1. I think he is going to be a volume dependent RB2. I honestly think he is what he was last year, period. And Zamir White. How do we feel about Zamir White? You like him a lot. Your bench is great too. Wicks, Charbonnet will get the full-time workload if Walker goes down, but I think he is now just a handcuff. I like Walker a lot this year. Caleb Williams on the bench, awesome. You're big on Vegas's D. There's a lot I like about this team, Harsh. It's just there are other guys that I think have more proven in the tight end department and the running back department. And I think if you had told me that Rome Odunze was on a team without like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, I'd probably have this team in my top 6. I love Rome Odunze's talent. Harsh, it's just there's a lot of unprovenness here. Out of all your receivers, if there's one I think that's going to bust, it'll probably be Drake London. I don't think he's necessarily bad, but for him to be a second round pick, this guy really, like, you're asking a lot for him to do. And I know the fantasy industry has him ranked that high. I think he's more of a mid third round, okay, early third to mid third round pick. But if Tank Dell does what he did last year, Malik Neighbors is who we think he is, even despite having Daniel Jones. There's a lot of big ifs here, but I like the outcomes. It's just, I look at how my team was constructed with no running backs. Now, obviously, you have Zamir White and Javonte Williams, but they could be boom bust touchdown guys. The upside is an A plus. The floor is so unproven, though. We don't know what's happening. That's the only analysis I can give you, buddy. It's really hard for me to pick somebody this low. Team number 7, dude, I have done a double take like a million times on this. Paul, I'm going to put you here just as a placeholder, and this does not mean you have a bad team, buddy. There's just a lot of other teams that I like a lot. And it has nothing to do with you because I actually do think that this could be a playoff team because I think you're very, very deep. And I don't think this is a bad team, buddy. When I look at this, it's got playoff potential. I thought you were going to be number 9. I bumped you up to number 7. The more and more I think about it, Paul, you just sucked up all the value, and they're all great picks. Burrow, good pick. Jefferson, criminal that you got him. I don't know what the fuck. It's disrespectful. DJ Moore, I do like with Caleb Williams. Here's my only pushback on DJ Moore, Paul. I've had DJ Moore a lot, and when he is the only guy on a team, he has career years. DJ Moore's sophomore year and his year with Justin Fields as the only reliable Bears target were his best. The minute they bring in anybody else, or he's in a receiver room where they bought in people, he's been more boomer bust wide receiver too. And I think that's why he's going in the 3rd round because of that and not the 2nd. So just to give you a analysis, his rookie year, he was with Curtis Samuel, and there was somebody, was it Kelvin Benjamin? No. He played with Cam Newton. I just don't know who. Oh, Funchess. It was Funchess, Curtis Samuel, and DJ Moore as a rookie, so he didn't make an impact then. Sophomore year, it was just him and Curtis Samuel, and he was a stud. His 3rd year in the league, they bought in Robbie Anderson, and that killed his value just a little bit. He was more boomer bust. He was horrible then the next 2 years, but he is a wide receiver 1, and I think as long as the Bears are going to throw, he's going to be fine. Barkley, he's okay. He now plays with the team with a good offensive line. It's only up from there. Connor is probably my favorite pick that you made. I was going to take him at the top 5th at where I was taking, but I chose to go tight end instead. Love this pick out of James Conner. You have nothing to worry about with James Conner, dude. As long as he stays healthy, Paul, you are getting a high-end RB2, and he complements Barkley very well. Travis Kelce, speaking of values, somehow, dude, you just get married. Tell him to fuck off to Taylor, make him go gay, and you two go have a kid. Zay Flowers. I got to be honest with you. I was not big on Zay Flowers in the 5th, but you got him very, very late. And if this guy has a breakout season, my only issue is I don't know if Lamar Jackson can support one, let alone him, Mark Andrews, and him. So I think he's more of a floor play. And then your last flex, there's options. I know Jalen Warren is hurt. Adonai Mitchell, if you want to shoot for the stars, I would just put him in your lineup every day, but you're going to have to live with that 0 that he puts up. If David Sutton's listening to this, he's probably going to get Adonai Mitchell. And Njoku as a backup is fine. Madison sucks. Pearsall, whatever. Corley, if he's on return yards, bitch. Ooh. Jalen Warren, no. Zach Moss, I do like a lot. I think him and Chase Brown might be very valuable. But I think the guy you want to start every week is Courtland Sutton. He is the boring veteran that you're just going to play, and I don't know why you have Giants defense, I guess. Oh, you like Sam Darnold matchup. I like it. And Hopkins on the bench, too. Paul, you've got a lot of options here, buddy. I think you have depth at running back that you can start, and I think you got depth at receiver. Paul, this is not a bad team. I want you to listen to what I'm saying, because you are ranked number 7 on my list. 7. It's not like I have you at 12. You're ranked number 7, and honestly, dude, I think the sky's the limit for this team. Paul, if you manage this correctly, I think this is a playoff team. There is nothing bad that I like. The only question mark, Paul, and me personally, that I have is who you're going to play at flex every week. But the first six. What? Hold on, I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys are all startable every week, and I think they complement each other very well. So I think you did a good job. All right, so who are the top six? Which are the top six teams that I think will make the playoffs? Um, this is a tough one, and I think when it comes down to it, um, I honestly think if people are still listening to this, that name has already been called. I could probably flip number 7 and number 6. Paul, if you are still there listening, I honestly think you could be in the top 6 and this person gets bumped out, and that's Rob Coffey. Coffee, I don't think you did anything wrong in the draft. There's just a lot of teams, like you said, there's like not one team that sticks out like, oh, this team sucks. Like everybody's got a path to victory, and then you can kind of mix and match and see to yourself, okay, well, how does this team get better? So here's the deal. Coffee, Jalen Hurts is fine. If Cooper Kupp does not get hurt, I think he'll be okay. Rashee Rice was a good steal. But what I mean by that is if there's no suspension, I think he goes in the 3rd. You got him in the 5th. Congratulations. Breece Hall, stud. A-Chain is a guy who, as long as he's healthy, he's going to put up ridiculous numbers. Coffee, you're buying into Kyle Pitts. I am not. I know we're banking on the profile of Kyle Pitts to being a stud. JSN should be a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't know how that's going to affect with him in this offense. Ryan Grubb wanting to go deep like he did with Michael Penix and all those receivers at Washington, it could be really good. Chase Brown. I'd be more comfortable with him if he was in a 0 RB team than he is in a flex spot. Just because I don't know what his floor is. I think he definitely has upside to break one, and probably everybody's gonna trade for him. Your bench is interesting. McConkey is intriguing. Romeo Dobbs, it's really hard to say what Packers receiver you're gonna start on a given week. Jaleel McLaughlin, I love it. Herbert, Michael Wilson. I'm gonna send you a link, Coffee. There is a analyst out there who thinks he's the best Cardinals receiver, and that is me. No, but there's actually a guy on camera saying that. Xavier Legette sucks. Cut him. Generic Prince, you can cut him. And Tim Patrick, good pickup. Coffee, it's between you and Paul. I think your teams are kind of similarly set up, very similar. I struggled with putting who was 6 or 7. Coffee, I gave you the veteran in deference because you have 2 rings, I guess. I don't know, but I could put you at 7. I could put Paul at 6. Coffee, I think the way for you to kind of win a title here is if Cooper Kupp becomes what he was, then you're fine at flex for like the rest of the year because Rashee Rice will get you 8 to 10 floor minimum. And then Hall and A-Chain, you got worst case scenario, you are set at running back. That's fine, man. I think you did really well. Number 5 team, I think, took the winning strategy from last year, edit, copy, and pasted it, and did decent with it. I don't think he did as well as cousin number 2 did. But Andre Jones, you're at number 5. There's a lot I love what you did, and there's 2 picks that I just did not like. But I do think it's a playoff team. I was upset that you went Tyreek Hill. You had betrayed your own fan base in Dallas. I don't know why you did that. You're not a real Cowboys fan, as far as I'm concerned, Andre. You are not. I don't know why you didn't let me just get Tyreek Hill. Andre, I think what Allen did last year, I think you saw that winning formula, and it made you just come in your pants. Look at that. Tyreek Hill, good pick. Pacheco, fabulous pick. I was going to go him if I was to go Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb. So me and you were on the same start with that. Derrick Henry, I'm not going to hate on it. I like Jacobs a little bit better, but if he is on Baltimore and he's still the king, your first 3 picks are going to be A pluses. This is where things get a little tricky. Being an Aaron Jones truther, if he gets the work, he's going to be fine. He's going to be RB2, maybe have some RB1 weeks. I don't know if he can do that in Minnesota, but DeAndre Swift, I hate. Dude, I don't know why you pulled him up in the 5th. I think he's a good 0 RB running back 2. I don't think he's a good running back 2 to have on a robust team because I don't know what his volume is going to be. In my opinion, Andre, you probably would have been my favorite team. In all honesty, if you revisited that and did James, I would have won James Conner, David Montgomery because I think those guys are going to get touchdowns and they're going to get volume. That's where I probably would have revisionist history, obviously. Ferguson is fine. Glock Purdy is fine. Jaden Reed as the wide receiver, too. Very good to complement with Tyreek Hill. In fact, you also have Chris Godwin. The bench is Demarcus Robinson, Greg Dortch, Schultz, Gus Edwards, Josh Palmer is a good pick, Jameson Williams. Andre, this team is kind of stacked on the bench. My biggest issue is let's if I take this out and I say, okay, get rid of DeAndre Swift because he sucks. You can play Godwin. You could even play Dortch if you wanted. Jameson Williams is very boom bust. I think he would slot into the complimentary receiver. I think you're set for bye weeks. This team is very, 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 very deep. I don't know what the upside on the bench is from like a season perspective, but from a weekly perspective, if you play like DFS and start the right guys, I think you'll be okay. I literally think that like whatever Allen did, you're doing it the same thing too. And good job. I don't have any issue. It's just if you went James Conner, David Montgomery, I am on record telling you right now this is my favorite team. It's just Swift makes me very, very uneasy. And Aaron Jones, as much as I love him to death, this is not has nothing to do with me going Ty Chandler. He's slowly breaking down. But if he is going to do what he's always done, and that's be an animal, then like your cousin is going to be a monster. Um, Tampa D, I guess I don't know if it's a streaming. Oh, and Jordan Mason is a good upside flyer too. Bottom line, Andre, it is a good. This team will make the playoffs. I don't know if Swift will be a part of that roster by the time, and if Aaron Jones is going to be healthy. But that's the only complaint I have. I think whatever Allen did, I think people are going to start stealing that from years to come. And yeah, this team will most certainly be in the playoffs. My opinion, I'm putting myself as the fourth best draft. Yeah, there's bias in it. This team could either go very good or it could go very bad. Bottom line is it's relying too much on the Houston Texans. If the Texans get blown out or they don't put up any points, no matter what, I am not winning that week. So for me to rely on the Texans is a little bit risky. The bench is not very good. It's a lot of handcuffs and what the fuck kind of players, but I'm excited with some of the picks, and I'll explain why I have team number 3. So the beginning of this video, I said how I'm very biased to teams with really good receivers, and you are the definition of it. Third best draft goes to David Sutton. Kyler Murray is fine. A.J. Brown and Marvin Harrison. Holy crap, I'm hard. And Metcalf with T. Higgins. T. Higgins as a fourth option is incredible. I don't like the running backs, though. So the thing is, when I compare your team to the other hero RBs, your RB ones, I think receiver-wise, you are clear-cut number 1. I am not debating you on that. Running backs are a little weak. I could either put me or myself, I think, have the two best. The reason why I put you in front of me is because I think your receivers have more touchdown upside on a week-to-week basis than I do because I'm starting 2 Texans. And for them to score at the same time each week is insane, so that's not going to happen. But I have the better RB1. The RB2s are very, very similar, but you did get a value at Andrews. So when I look at my team versus yours, you're the one team I do not want to face, even though I've had success against you in the past. Because your receivers are better than mine. Our tight ends are probably going to cancel each other out if they're healthy in a head-to-head, and I think your bench is better than mine by far. I have a lot of handcuffs. So, and you have the lottery ticket if it happens on Nick Chubb. Sutton, I just realized that Taysom Hill is only eligible at quarterback, which is gay. But if that's the case, either he's going to get it or I don't know. Your bench also is better than mine, so I gave you the number 3 spot. The only thing I hate on this team, I don't think Alvin Kamara is now a floor play. I don't think he's an upside play anymore in this point in his career, but nothing I hate about this team. It's down to 2. And when it all comes down to it, I am not considering injuries with this team at all. This was a fantastic draft. The way the roster is constructed. If there is anything, the only reason this team does not make playoffs is if this team gets hurt. Bottom line. If they stay healthy, one of the best drafts that they've had, he told me in the last 5 years, in our 5 years, he hasn't felt as good. It's Johnny. Love Josh Allen. Mike Evans, listen, he hasn't fallen off yet, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Amari Cooper is the most disrespected player in all fantasy football. The fact that this guy is a 5th-round pick, he performs on a point per game basis as a 3rd-round pick. Regardless if it's Watson or Winston, he's going to be an animal. Christian McCaffrey, you know what you're getting there. The fact that you got Joe Mixon this late, amazing. Evan Ingram, good. Calvin Ridley, follow the volume. Mostert is a fantastic pick. Bottom line is this: he's playing on one of the most high-powered offenses in the National Football League, and Devon Achane ain't touching the ball more than 12 times a game, maybe 15. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. You've got upside receivers in Coleman and Shaheed. Coleman, Coleman I only like because you have Allen. If you did not have Josh Allen, you're never starting Keon Coleman. Shaheed, if he's on return yards, hey, bitch, we got a cheat code. Ray Davis, you love him. Darnell Mooney, I think he might be a lot more useful than people think this year. Bucky Irving, whatever. Mario Douglas, floor play. And Elijah Mitchell, just in case it's not Jordan Mason, you at least have some sort of a committee back in there. The only thing where I see this going wrong for Johnny is just injury. I don't see anything else wrong with this team. Johnny, I'm going to get it short and sweet. You're number 2. And I think it's unanimous with a lot of people, but I love this team. Alex Matika. Similar to Paul, I think you got with some value here. Dak, Lamb, Waddle, Kyron, Ramondre, Sam Laporta, George Pickens, Christian Watson. You didn't have to reach for these guys, and they were all good picks. Your flex options are the biggest if for this team because I do think you have depth everywhere else too, which is why I think you're my favorite team. I love George Pickens. I'm the George Pickens guy, but once I heard that they were bringing in Arthur Smith, I was completely out on George Pickens. This could go one of two ways. Either George Pickens gets so fucking pissed off that he punches Arthur Smith and he's out of the league, or he becomes a wide receiver 1. Christian Watson, if he stays healthy, here's what we know about the Packers receivers. Jaden Reed will play slot. The other 3 that are viable for fantasy are so big unknowns. But the one thing I do know is if they all hit, who's the guy who's going to score the most points? It's Watson. Plays that are designed for Watson are meant to go way down the field. And this is a guy that was being taken in the 3rd round, and the reason why he is discounted in the 8th is because of the hamstrings. Hopefully, you got it figured out. Robinson on the bench, great. Blake Corum is probably the must-handcuff guy this year for Kyron Williams. Antonio Gibson, I could care less. Roschon Johnson is intriguing because he didn't do anything last year, but he's playing behind DeAndre Swift, and it's either him or Herbert. Tua, good bench quarterback to have. Kamani Vidal, what's going on there? I don't know. Roman Wilson, Luke Musgrave, Dallas D. Got a lot of Cowboys. Yeah, I don't know what to say. The only thing I will say is that I like a lot of players on this team, and I think you had a really good draft for doing it on Zoom. Kyron Williams being picked right before me really pissed me the fuck off, but I think you did a very good job, Alex Matika, and well deserved at the number 1 spot.